So I believe we have an affirmation statement for the evening, and it will magically appear on the screen above my head. And if it's there, let us affirm it together. I am centered in God's love. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's say that again. I am centered in the flow of God's love. So let's just close our eyes and just take a deep breath. And just relaxing into that truth that we are truly centered in the flow of God's love. That is in God's love that we live and move and have our very being. That we have all been created in the image and likeness of God, which means we have been created in the image and likeness of love. You are love. You are here to love. To be loved, to express love, to experience love in its most profound and beautiful way. I am centered in the flow of God's love. Half voice together. I am centered in the flow of God's love. Deep breath. Just open your heart to feel that truth, to feel that love. I am centered in the flow of God's love. Just a quiet voice together. I am centered in the flow of God's love. So we just open our hearts to all the love that is available to us. To open our hearts fully, to allow ourselves to love and to be loved, to experience love, to express love, and to truly immerse our hearts and minds and thoughts in love. For love is the greatest commandment. Love is the reason that we are here, and love is what makes life fulfilling. Love opens the doors to so many wonderful things. So we give thanks for the gift of love, and we give thanks that we are centered in the flow of God's love. And so it is. Amen.
Of angels' wings, I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. And I invite you right now to take a deep breath and close your eyes and just open your heart to God. Open your heart to that living, loving, all-providing presence of Spirit. That Spirit that created you, that Spirit that is the source of love, that is love, that is in you and all around you, always loving you, always guiding you, always supporting you, and providing you with all that you need to live life and live it more abundantly. So everyone take another deep breath and just feel yourself relax and let go. And I invite you just to let that unconditional love of God just wash over you. As if you were sitting underneath a waterfall, let God's love just wash and pour over you. Healing, relaxing, renewing, refreshing, and revitalizing you in mind, body, and spirit. Let God's love just wash away any worry or fear, any resentments or sadness. Just let God's love dissolve it and dissipate it and release it from your being so that you can feel the peace and the love and the joy that God is always wanting you to feel. Just let go and let God. I know that the more you can just let go, the more you open yourself to feel God's peace, the more you open yourself to be a greater channel of God's love and joy, God's creativity, God's kindness and abundance. Again, take a deep breath and let go at a deeper level. And let God heal, let God inspire, let God transform and uplift you in exactly the way that your life needs. For with God all things are possible. And it truly is God's will and desire that we all experience the riches of the kingdom of heaven right here and now. God isn't withholding anything from you, but delights and desires to the extent that you will let go and open up and allow yourself to be a channel of light and love and beauty and abundance in all of its various forms. In the Psalms it is written, "Be still and know that I am God." So for the next few moments, let's sit in the silence and let's just be still and know and experience the living Spirit of God. Peace. Be still. And now that we've allowed our hearts to be ministered to, let's turn our thoughts and prayers to our loved ones. If you have a family member or a friend or a neighbor or a coworker in need of prayer or healing or guidance, I invite you to bring into your heart right now. And to them, we hold in our hearts and affirm for them that God's healing power and God's healing love is bringing about the right answers and order, the right strength, the right results in their lives, for them and for everyone involved. And we hold for them the greatest prayer we could ever pray, and that prayer is, God's will be done. For God's will is greater than anything we can hold for ourselves. So as we end this time of meditation, I invite you to remember how you're feeling right now, and know that that very same feeling of peace and oneness is closer to you than your hands and breath, because God is within us and all around us. And so we give thanks for all the good in our lives and the greater things still to come. And we pray it all through the name and the power of the living Christ Spirit. And so it is. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom has come.
So I saw this Ziggy cartoon. And Ziggy's standing out at night and his arms are up in the air and he says, "I love life. It's just the people I can't stand." So how many people here have ever had someone in your life, whether it was a boss or a coworker, a family member, a neighbor, or a politician, that you just couldn't stand? Anybody? That everything about them just bothered you, irritated you, and annoyed you to no end. How many people have ever been so angry or upset at someone and you were in the same room with them and you did everything in your power to not look at them or avoid eye contact? Anybody ever do that? Have somebody do this? So how about the other side? You ever had anybody in your life that you just adored, that you admired and you liked, that just seeing them made you smile and light up? And whether it was a romantic thing or a friend or a neighbor or a cashier at Target, whoever it is, did you ever just have someone that you just lit up? You just lit up seeing them, hearing them, being around them. Relationships. I believe that the greatest joy and the greatest happiness and the greatest fulfillment in our lives come through our relationships. I also believe that the greatest heartache, the greatest pain, the greatest unhappiness come through our relationships. In many ways, I would say that the quality of relationships determines at some level the quality of our lives. And whether it's the relationship with our parents, the relationship with our spouse or our children or friends or boss or co-workers or neighbors, that our relationships have a huge influence on the quality of our lives. Fulfilling relationships, I tend to think, bring fulfilling lives. Unfulfilling relationships tend to have an impact of unfulfilling lives. Think of the level of the quality of your life right now and the level of your happiness or unhappiness, the level of your fulfillment or frustration, and ask yourself, do you see a connection with the level of your life fulfillment and the fulfillment of the quality of your relationships? Please say yes, because this entire talk is built around that answer. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now the rest will make sense. I bet every one of us at some time has probably said, why are relationships so hard? Why is he or she such a pain? Why do we have so many difficult people? Or why can't we just get along? You know, it's interesting, when we think things like, why are relationships so hard, I think there's an underlying assumption that they should be easy, that they're not supposed to be hard. There's an underlying assumption of that when we say, why are they so hard? Because we have this belief that if we find the right relationship, you know, that things will be so smooth and harmonious. We would be like a pair of skaters on ice in perfect sync and harmony, skating through the ice rink of life, all in sync, everything moving. And when something doesn't go well, something's out of sync, it doesn't work, we think, where did it go wrong? And I think that sometimes some of the challenges we experience in life has to do with our culture that sometimes romanticizes and fantasizes of what relationships are supposed to be. And I think we overdo it to that point that sometimes those expectations are unhealthy, they're unreasonable, and they almost set us up for failure. They set us up for disappointment at some level. I mean, why are relationships so hard and so difficult? And I think some of it has to do with some of the beliefs and mindsets we have about relationships. Like, one of them is that we have an expectation at some level that other people are supposed to make us happy. Anybody ever thought something like, if he would just stop doing that, or if she would start doing this, that I'd be a happy person? If he would just share his feelings and stop leaving clothes all over the house, or if she would stop nagging me. We have all kinds of things. If my boss wasn't so rude and arrogant, if my friends didn't take advantage of me, we have all these things of what other people should be doing. And at some level, when we blame other people for our lack of peace or happiness, at a subconscious level, I think we're thinking, we don't say this, but I think we think it. And that is, you are supposed to make me happy, and I'm not happy. So clearly you are not holding up your end of the bargain. And my question is, who made that bargain? Where did it come from? And the point is, I think we made it up. We made it up. Expecting other people to make us feel happy, is really a setup for failure and disappointment. And the second one related to it is that we think the definition of good relationship means finding someone who agrees with everything we say and do. We think that's what it is. If it's a good relationship, then you like what I like. You'll want to do what I want to do, and you want to do it when I want to do it. And a bad relationship means that you don't like what I like, we don't see eye to eye, and you don't want to do the things that I want to do. And I'll tell you, that's not true. And that is just not healthy. We sometimes view people as different as being wrong. Here's what the Dalai Lama said. He said, people take different roads seeking fulfillment and happiness. Just because they're not on your road doesn't mean they've lost their way. And sometimes we have a hard time accepting, and particularly for the ones closest to us, but other people as well, the different, sometimes necessarily means bad or not loving or not a healthy or fulfilling relationship. Eric Butterworth in his book In the Flow gives an interesting example about relationships and being in a dark room. So when you're in a dark room and you're bumping into these things and you're feeling some obstacles and it's not feeling comfortable, it can be frustrating and irritating. And then you turn on the light and then you actually see where everything is. And the things a few minutes ago that were irritating and an obstacle, suddenly with a new perception, aren't as bad as you thought they were. They could actually be pretty good. And he said in some ways our relationships are just like that. Is that just because, it's like when we turn on the light of perception, we can see and actually negotiate and actually have it be better than we thought. Let me give an example. Years ago, I worked with someone who their first answer for everything was no, that won't work. Nope, not good, not going to happen. And so I, who like a can-do attitude, found myself getting irritated and frustrated about it. And I would be convincing them why my idea was so brilliant and why we're going to do it. And then over time, I realized that wasn't the wisest thing. So the light goes on. And it's like, oh, this person tends to naturally be cautious. This person's a perfectionist that if they do it, they want to do it right. This person needs a little time to acclimate and to think things through. This person needs some discussion. So over time, I would bring up ideas. The first answer would be, no, that wouldn't work. And I'll say, okay, well, how about if we think about it this way? Or what do you think about that? Or I'd let it go at one meeting and then bring it back up at another. And over time, it was interesting that some of those no's would become yeses. But what was more important is that I recognized it and I didn't get upset. I wasn't bumping into the dark corners and things that were annoying. When the light of awareness came, it's like, oh, this person has some different ways of communicating and seeing life. And sometimes the no's were a smart thing, and we had no's. Sometimes they were a yes, but what was more important was the process was much more harmonious. It was much more understanding. It was much more respectful. There's a Chinese proverb that says, it is better to bring a light into the darkness than curse the darkness. And so sometimes when we don't understand someone in a relationship or we find they're difficult, we want to curse it instead of realizing, I'm here to bring light to the darkness. Eric Butterworth says that when we get irritated with coworkers or demanding people or family members, he said, what can we do? He says, get back into the flow. Get back into the flow of love. Get back into the flow of God. And he said, whatever situation you're in and where it's frustrating or irritating, he said there's some good news, and here's the good news. He said the most important thing about those situations when we bump up against someone, he said, is that the most important thing is that you're there. Because he said it's no coincidence that we run into people that bump up against us and irritate us and frustrate us. That we are the common denominator in the relationships with those difficult people, with the people that trigger us and push our buttons. That they are there to teach us and help us learn and grow, to bring out our best, and sometimes our worst so we can see it to improve it. Interesting thing about life. Richard Rogers and I had shared this before. We went to a football game last year, and Cardinal Stadium, like 60,000 people, 80,000. And he said, it's amazing. Here we are, and we ran into some people here and there, and people we knew, met people we didn't know. And he said, isn't it amazing, 60 or 80,000 people, and isn't it amazing how in life you meet who you're supposed to meet? There are lots of people we don't meet. And we're not supposed to, because we're not supposed to meet them. And there are people we're supposed to meet, and that's why we meet them. Because we are meant to make a connection. We're meant to learn from them. We're meant to heal. We're meant to grow. We're meant to discover joy. We are meant for each other. So it isn't an accident that we meet the people. So it's no coincidence when someone presses our buttons, guess what? It was meant to be. That relationship is meant to be there to teach us, to heal us, to help us grow and expand in some way, to turn on the light in that dark room situation. So tonight we're in the third week of our 4-week series called Being in the Flow of Life. And tonight we're talking about the art of getting along. And one of the things about this whole idea of being in the flow is that God, the kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of love is within you. Life doesn't flow from the outside in, it flows from the inside out. That we need to stop looking outside of ourselves to other people to make us happy and all that stuff. And we need to start looking within and to connect with that flow and allow that flow to move. Because that will help more than anything else improve the relationships and create harmony. So what are the things we can do to be in the flow of love and to connect and learn the art of letting go? The first thing is that when someone presses your buttons, number one, we just need to own it. When someone annoys us or when we get triggered, the first thing we need to think is, it is a sign to me that I'm not in the flow of love. That I am not in the flow of love. Eric Butterworth says, at the highest spiritual level, when someone presses your button or ticks you off or irritates you, you at some level should say, thank you for being the instrument to reveal that I am out of the flow. And I'm thinking, really, man? Come on. Think of someone that really ticks you off and irritates you. Do you think the first thought you're going to think is, thank you for being the instrument that reveals that I am out of the flow? I get it on a higher spiritual level, but get real, man. I'm thinking that's got the same chance as a snowball in the middle of July in Phoenix. It's just not going to happen. But I would have to say he is very true. Because when we get triggered, it is a sign that we're out of the flow of love. And he says we're always in the flow of love. We're always in the flow of God. We're always in the presence of love and God. But sometimes our awareness slips off. Sometimes we get distracted. Sometimes we get irritated. And those people really are there to help us, remind us to get back on track. He said that when we get frustrated, we need to be still and know that we are in the flow of love. That we can get ourselves back to that flow. We can get ourselves back. And so that when someone irritates us, sometimes we need to just turn within and own it. I've got something here I need to do. And then you could just begin to pray and just say, Spirit, what is this here to help me heal? What is it here that I need to let go of? What is it here that I need to help open myself to and open my heart to? What do I need to do to cleanse my heart and to feel more peace again? And we need to just own it. Instead of going quickly to blaming them, realizing they are an instrument. They are there as a reminder to us, to teach us that there's something in us that we need to learn, to heal, to release, to open up to. When it says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you so that you may be sons of God, what it's really saying is, don't let what anyone else's behavior is stop you from being in the flow of love. Elevate your thoughts from that irritating moment to a higher level, of love, and realizing there's something in us that needs some healing, some releasing, and some opening up, or some cleansing. Sometimes, but they're so irritating. Yeah, but they're such a pain in the butt. They're so rude. So rude. And here's what Jesus says. Somebody was asking Jesus, who's the one that's going to betray you? Who's the one? Who is it? And Jesus said to Peter, he said, what is that to thee? Come and follow me. So we could say, oh, he's so rude. He's such a jerk. Well, what is that to you? Come and follow me. Come and be in the flow of love. It's not easy, and I'm not trying to pretend that it is, but it is a higher and better road. It is a greater path to peace and joy. Every one of us is going to bump up against someone, And the most efficient, the smartest, the most spiritual and powerful thing we can do is own that there's some parts in us that are tender, that are wounded, that needs some healing, that needs some love, that needs some compassion, and we need to be willing to own it and do that work. So first thing we need to do is to own it. Second thing we do is we got to work it. And he says in the book that every morning we need to take some time and connect and to feel the love of God and allow that love to flow in and through us. But not just to flow in us, but to send it out to the people that irritate us most. That before you get out of bed, whoever the people, whether at work or wherever, that we need to send them love. Send them peace. Send them blessings. Send them, the most positive and loving thoughts we can. And how many people would say sometimes that's really hard? Is that hard? I would say that's hard. But the only thing harder than sending love to someone we don't like? The only thing harder and takes more energy? Withholding love from people we don't like. Let me take you back to that scene of the last time you were in a room and not making eye contact with someone. Does that not take some energy to withhold your love and to not do the eye contact? It takes energy and sucks energy when we withhold love from anyone else. Anybody, you ever have conflict with anybody and then it was a misunderstanding and then you said you're sorry and then suddenly it went from tension, tightness in your chest to all of a sudden your heart's open and it's feeling good? Anybody ever experienced that? It takes more energy to withhold love than it does to send love. Why? Because we are created in the image and likeness of love. The greatest commandment is love. The thing we are here to do is to love. Love. And yes, sometimes it takes work, but it's one of the most powerful things that we can do. So when we bump up against someone, we need to do our best to send them love, or to remind us that God is love and I am love, or to realize no one can take my good from me. I am sending my love and blessings. And so that's a part of working it. You got to send that love out. And then the other aspect of working it is then you need to not tell the story. So if someone's rude and irritating to you at work, a part of working it is not only sending them love and forgiving them and letting it go, but it's not going home and say, you know what that dirty so-and-so said to me at work? He was so rude. I forgave him, but he's a jerk. And then we go tell 10 people how much of a jerk they were and how good we were that we forgave them. That's not quite working it. It's working you. That's what it is. And so that's a part of the deal. And I got to tell you, at some level, it sounds so passive and soft. Send them love. It sounds airy-fairy, doesn't it? Send them love. But I'll tell you, it works. It is a powerful healing energy. Just the thought of sending someone love and blessings and peace makes a difference. Let me give you a story. When I was a minister in North Carolina, my first week or so of getting there, a woman came into my office to see me. Her name was Sharon. And I've told this story before, but I just think it's so powerful. And she said she and her husband just moved from Pennsylvania, just to around the corner from the church. And what they had done is they came and bought this house on a cul-de-sac, and the real estate agent was their neighbor right next door in the cul-de-sac. And it was supposed to close on like September the 1st. When they got here in the truck with all their stuff from Pennsylvania, the real estate agent made a mistake, and it wasn't closing till October 1st. They had to put all their stuff in a truck, put it into storage, cost them a ton of money, and the real estate agent didn't accept any responsibility. So it cost them a ton of money. They're living in a hotel. It's irritating, and she is the king of the cul-de-sac, of that neighborhood. So everybody turns against Sharon. Before she even gets there, it not only costs her a ton of money, but everyone in her hood hates her. And so she came into my office, and I said, so Sharon, here's what we're going to do. We're going to both pray for that woman's peace and happiness. We're going to send her love and peace and blessings every single day. And this was in September. And I said, I guarantee you, next Christmas, not this one, next Christmas, she will send you a Christmas card. So we start, and I said, don't think anything of her, don't say anything. You come out of your house, you wave, you smile. You do nothing but send love and joy and blessings to her. And you and I will do it every single night. We'll pray, send her blessings. A couple months later, they had some sort of issue with the water pressure in their area. And Sharon was a real letter writer to the editor kind of person. She wrote enough, they got their water pressure fixed, and all the neighbors were thankful to Sharon. So some of the neighbors who weren't waving, suddenly the odd one, hey Sharon, Hey, Sharon. Sharon comes out, still waving to the next door neighbor, the real estate agent, not working. Time goes, keeps waving. She sends a Christmas card that Christmas to everybody. And then literally, 6 months, she waves and the neighbor waves, and that Christmas, long story short, she got a Christmas card. But the point I'm trying to make is, it might seem simple, but sending someone love and positive energy really opens the channels for healing and blessings. It is amazing how it works. You got to own it when you get triggered, but then you got to work it by sending that love and that forgiveness and blessings. And the last thing is, you got to be it. The more you work it, the more you embody it. Here's what Lao Tzu said 3,000 years ago. He said, we live in proportion to the number of points with which we contact in life and in the world. And he goes on to say that there is a connection that we all have to the flow of love. And the more connections we make to the flow of love, the more we will be and embody a strong stand for love no matter what's going on. Then we have to work it less because we're being it. And he said that the greatest commandment, to love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul and strength, and to love others as we love ourselves, gives us the most points of contact to that flow of love, and the more we can embody it and become it. Interesting thing is, Charles Fillmore once said that your level of happiness is in direct relation and proportion to the quality of thoughts that you hold towards other people. Think about that. We are all one. We are all connected. That the quality of our lives are related to the quality of thoughts we send to other people. I'm sure when we were less spiritually mature, some of us probably did prayers like, dear Lord, get that dirty so-and-so for what they did. And I would like peace and happiness and prosperity for me. And it doesn't work that way. What you pray for others, you are praying for yourself. We are all one. We are all connected. And so being it is about being so connected to our love of God, our love of ourselves, and our love of others, no matter what they do, that we literally become it. It radiates from us. Levels of love and compassion and patience and understanding become the norm for us. And yes, it takes work first, but then to work it, but then slowly over time, you become it. Let me give you the best example of it. Mother Teresa, you've heard this, but I love it so much. It's called Anyway. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you have anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it was between you and God, and it was never between you and them anyway. Getting along with others and having harmonious relationships is one of the absolute most important things for a happy and successful life, and the reflection of a life that is truly in the flow of God's love, in the flow of greater abundance, and in the flow of happiness. The question is, when you get triggered, are you willing to own it? Are you willing to work it? And are you willing over time to be it? Let's have a moment of prayer. Everybody just close our eyes. As we just open our hearts to the truth and knowing that we are here to love, that the greatest spiritual work and the greatest fulfillment we could ever experience is opening our hearts to love, to opening ourselves to heal whatever it is that's blocking us from feeling and being centered in the flow of God's love. So everyone just take a deep breath. And I invite you to make yourself a commitment to keep your heart open. That no matter what anybody says or what anybody does, that you own your part as a center of God's love and light in this world, and be willing to do the work, to literally be that love, and to express the light of your love in ways that I guarantee will bless you, bless your family, bless your community, and our world. I am centered in the flow of God's love. Half voice together. I am centered in the flow of God's love. Deep breath. And so it is. Amen. And now our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless everybody. Have a great day.